Welcome to the Liquivision battery change video. We now offer 3 different types of batteries. Xen and Zeo units with the black battery holder are only compatible with the ER14335M battery. Xen, Zeo, and Lynx units with the white battery holder allow for 2 different types of battery. The first is the blue ER17335M battery, which offers double the capacity than the old blue and white battery. The white battery holder is also compatible with the green battery, which is rechargeable. This doesn't offer as much dive time per battery as the blue battery would offer, but it allows you the option of recharging it.
The first step is to thoroughly clean your work area. This will make sure there is no dust or debris that can contaminate the battery cap and prevent a good seal when closing your unit. The next step is to wash your Xen properly. This will help remove any salt or residue. Once you've finished washing it, you can dry it off with a cloth. The next thing is to make sure that you have all the required equipment. You need your Xen unit, you need a coin to unscrew the battery cap, you need your spare battery, and if you want to change the O-ring, you will need a spare O-ring and some O-ring lubricant. Start by inserting the coin into the battery cap and gently turning it counterclockwise. Once the cap is turning easily, you can continue with your fingers. When the cap is completely loose, you can set it aside on the table.
There is a screw protruding from the battery holder. Grab the screw and gently pull it out from your unit. Make sure you support your battery holder to not stress the wires that connect it to the unit. Remove the old battery by gently lifting it from the front and set it aside. Take the new battery and place the flat end against the spring. Then lower the button top end towards you. Make sure the battery is fully pushed down into the battery holder. In order to reinsert the battery holder, you must ensure it's correctly positioned. The correct position is such that the base of the unit aligns with an imaginary line that runs through the battery holder. The blue battery should face up, while the white battery holder should face down. Once the battery holder is in the correct position, slide it into the unit. It may be a bit of a tight fit. A correctly positioned battery holder will sit quite deeply within your unit. If the battery holder is not correctly positioned, you will find it is very difficult to slide it into the unit, and it doesn't enter properly.
Once you have returned the battery holder into the unit, it is time to inspect the battery cap and O-ring. If the O-ring is in good shape, oily, smooth, and without cracks or debris, you can proceed to replace the battery cap. If the O-ring is dusty, old, or cracked, you should follow the steps in changing your O-ring video. If you decide to change your O-ring, the first step is to remove the old O-ring. You can do this by gently squeezing the O-ring the length of the cap, such that the O-ring protrudes a little bit beyond the battery cap. Once the O-ring is protruding, lift it over the top of the battery cap. It's important to remove it this way because lifting it over the battery threads could risk damaging the O-ring on the sharp edges of the threads. The next thing is to properly prepare your new O-ring. An O-ring must be lubricated before use. You should take a small amount of O-ring lube and spread it over the O-ring, rolling the O-ring between your fingers for the silicone lubricant to penetrate the O-ring. If there is any excess lubricant on the O-ring, just slide your fingers along the O-ring to collect the excess, and then wipe it off on a piece of tissue paper. The next step is to inspect the battery cap for any dirt or impurities. If you see any dust, then just rinse off the battery cap and dry it properly. It's important for all surfaces to be dry because otherwise the silicone won't seal properly. The next step is to put the O-ring back onto the battery cap. Anchor it on one side with your thumb and then gently stretch it over the top of the battery cap. Once again, it's important to do it over the top of the battery cap and not over the threads, because the threads could damage the O-ring. To replace the battery cap, place it gently on the unit and screw it counterclockwise until you hear a click. The click means that the battery cap is level. Then start screwing it in clockwise. You should feel the threads grab easily and smoothly. You do not need to use a coin to tighten the battery cap. You should be able to tighten it sufficiently just with your fingers. Tighten the battery cap until it is parallel or flush with the unit. Make sure not to over-tighten. If you see that the battery cap goes below the level of the unit, then you have gone too far and you should loosen it a bit.
With the new casing design, the battery cap should be slightly lower than the rim and in line or flush with the main body of the casing. Once you've completed your battery change, tap the unit 3 times on top to make sure it can be turned on and that all is okay.